And that's what Desta and I are bringing out the book. It just came out an hour ago, was contact modalities. So
right, I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so we go through the contact modalities, and it's like 405 pages. And basically what we say is it's all the same thing. It's a different variation. It's almost like Bashar, the famous channeler, says, whatever your permission slip is, go ahead. Whatever you think is going to work for you, if it works for you, it works for you. And everybody's using different things. And they're saying, oh, I'm the right guy. Don't listen to this guy. My technique works or whatever. And everybody's basically doing the same technique. And you see these bizarre crossovers. Let me give you an example. We did an interview, it's on my YouTube channel. We did an interview with Sherry Wild, who's the woman who has got a really, really bizarre story. They're doing a Hollywood movie on her and stuff like that. She said at 15 years old, she was taken on board a flying saucer, and she was introduced to Albert Einstein, Albert Schweitzer, and Nikola Tesla, and a fourth woman, a famous woman. And of course I say to her, I said, well, Sherry, let me ask you a question. Were they actually physical? And then she said, I know where you're going with this, Grant. I'll tell you what. They may have been a hologram, but it was pretty real. And so here you have Nikola Tesla on a flying saucer with Sherry Wild being on there 15 years old. So Desta and I are working on a couple of modalities. One of them is the most interesting one is instrumental transcommunication, which is unbelievable, where they can actually get photographs, people coming in this, we won't explain it, it's bell thing. It's a bell, or what they do is they take a voice and they break up the voice rather than using white noise with the spirit box. They break up a voice. Somebody reads 10 minutes, they break up the voice into little syllables, and the beings are able to talk, and you can talk like normal, like for 50 lines instead of one word and stuff like that. So this woman, her name is Sonia Rinaldi from Brazil, is working on this, and guess who's helping her? Nikola Tesla. And then you have the spirit phone. The spirit phone is another modality. Gary Schwartz is working on the spirit phone, and they can now do one letter at a time with the spirit thing. They have these techniques. Who's helping them? Tesla. You go back to the days of the skull experiment where they're doing the mediumship, and who comes across to help them? Tesla. And you see these connections. Tesla, all these modalities, different modalities. And I know, and Desta knows, because we put them all together. We've got like 70 some modalities, 405 pages of this stuff. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to put the about 100 pages, the first 100 pages online for people to read. And that explains how we think it works. And my personal impression, I don't know about anybody else, my personal impression is you have a physical brain, two halves, right, left. Your left is your rational, analytical, into details, ego, left brain interpreter that makes up a bunch of BS all the time, male, wants to fight, would rather be right than happy. And then you have the female right brain. And so what I say with the modalities is it's the ability to shut down the left brain. So you do it through meditation, you do it through psychedelics, you do it through whatever. Like Desta uses that process where she's able to shut the left brain down, go into theta, and then she can do the channeling. She can pull the stuff through. So what we say in this modality thing is that people learn these techniques to quiet the left brain, pick up the signal, because now you shut all the noise off and pick up the signal. And Desta can confirm, I think we probably could have done another 200 pages because there's just so much material. Almost every article I read has something that I could use because it's suddenly like everything. It's like when you suddenly put on glasses and you can see the stop signs and you can see the street signs and stuff. And it's suddenly like, oh my, everything makes sense. So everything you read now you see stuff, but we just had to stop at 405 pages and say, that's it. So we've got that. And then we're going to do the book. Desta and I are doing the book on the apports. And this is the weird thing where Desta and I, the story about the feather, right? Where Desta and I get involved with this feather story. There was 15 people and 12 feathers, and it's just like weird. And that's apport material. That's making stuff appear, appear and disappear and reappear and all this kind of stuff. And it happens around experiencers. I can ask an experiencer. If you get an experiencer who's been on board the ship or whatever, just say to them, like I said to Tony Bintz in Great Britain, I said, Tony, he wanted to show me his photographs of UFOs and helicopters with UFOs in behind, which is very common. A helicopter with a UFO in the same photograph, and low-flying helicopter. And I said, have you ever had anything fall out of the sky or disappear, reappear? He said, well, yeah. And he starts telling me these stories. Or I talked to Dave Emmons, another guy. I said, Dave, you ever have anything like that? He said, can you hold it? Can I go next room? He comes back with all this stuff, disappeared. And everybody's got this, and what you got to see, they start to see, it's not just stuff flying around in the air. It's all this stuff happening on the ground around these people. And when you start looking at what these people are is happening to them, you start to learn what's actually going on, and it's much more complex than a bunch of aliens in a tin can who loaded 1,000 years worth of food and came flying across and accidentally found our planet. It's much more complex than that.
Right. And that reminds me of that recording with Kit Green that was on the internet last year. No, I don't know if it's still there, where he's interviewing a woman. He's got her on the phone, and she's talking about the Guardians, flying through portals and all this other similar stuff. It's really interesting. So I think
that was a tape I put out. I haven't put it on the internet, but I sort of leaked that, and Kit Green confirmed that it was him. He just said, because it involves a client, she released it legally. I can't talk about it. So he didn't talk about it. But you hear that, and then you realize what these guys are. You think, oh, they're working on nuts and bolts and anti-gravity and stuff like that. And then you hear Kit Green talking to this woman about the portal off the coast of California and who are we dealing with and all this kind of stuff. And you realize, like, this is a woman's an intuitive that Kit Green says is 95% accurate. And if Kit Green says she's 95% accurate, you can bet she's 95. And that's this Kay Randall May is her name. And she's an intuitive, and she's written books, and she's quoted in their paper, the Nolan's paper that he did on the Cadet Pudaman. She's a footnote in that paper. So there, you see that they're on the leading edge where they should be, where they're talking to intuitives and they're talking, trying to get material through the experiencer. And that's, I think, I keep maintaining that people are making the mistake that until you talk to the experiencer, the people who are interacting with the intelligence, you're wasting your time. You're going to confirm that, yeah, something's flying around the sky, but that's it. You've got to talk to these people because a lot of them are getting direct. 40% say they knew the answer to everything in the universe. 42% say they got mathematical, technical, or scientific material in their head they did not learn in school. And you start to realize you got to talk to these people. They have they're going to tell you what's going on, and they're willing to talk to you, whereas the government is not going to talk to you.
Right, and then you got all these guys, going to talk to Chris Bledsoe, guys from NASA, Chris going to NASA.
Yeah, he has literally everybody talking to him. I mean, Air Force generals, and he has the thing from Camp David, and you start seeing some of the stuff that he's showing. And that's the whole deal, is that's what Semivan said to him, because Semivan was an experiencer too. So Semivan had the beings in his room. So when he retired in 2008, he said to Chris, he said, I knew about you before I retired, but I wasn't allowed to talk to you. But now I'm coming to talk to you, because he's trying to figure out what's going on too. I mean, he didn't know either. That's the story that was told to me, was that Semivan, when he had the experience with the beings, he went to Ron Pandolfi, because Ron's the CIA UFO guy, and he said, I just had this experience in my room last night, and I need to know what's going on. You're the UFO guy, tell me what the hell's going on. And Ron says, you don't have a need to know. And Semivan says, I don't need to know, because he was the head of covert ops for 2 years for the CIA. I don't need to know. You bring your boss's boss in here, and we'll see who doesn't have a need to know. So according to what I heard, they brought in George Tenet. And George Tenet says to Semivan, he says, pretend it's a one-off. Pretend it, that'll never happen again. Leave it alone. It'll destroy your career. So what happens is for what time he was at the CIA, he doesn't mention it, he doesn't bring it up, he doesn't talk to people about it. And as soon as he leaves, according to what I was told, Ron Pandolfi briefed him. And that's what Kit Green confirms, is that when you get briefed, when you leave, you don't have a high security clearance when you're in the government. But the minute you leave the government and go into a contracting position, that's when they give you the briefing. That's when you get the high security clearances. That's when they tell you what's going on. So that's what happened to Semivan, is when he left, they actually told him what was going on, what they knew about UFOs. But when he was in the government, he didn't know what was going on.
Well, it looks like I'm getting the signal from Desta Grant. I think we got to wrap this up. It's going to be too hard for her to edit these long videos. Grant, that was another amazing conversation, man. We got to do this again soon.
Yeah, you're a pleasure to talk to you, and thanks for the cover. Everybody's going to see your contact modality cover. It's
yeah, I can't wait for that book to come out. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool.
I got all the comments on the Managing Magic. A lot of people thought that was the best cover they'd ever seen. I was like,
oh yeah, oh right on.
People really thought that was good. Yeah.
That was the first one I did.
Yeah, that's the one where you put the CIA wall in the background and the little girl holding the flying saucer. That was a cool cover.
Yeah, I put a lot of time.
I appreciate what you do for us. So thanks a lot, sir.
Right on. Thanks, Grant. Hey, you have a good weekend, Grant. I hope we'll talk soon, man.
You bet.
Thanks.